DG SEPC, Mr. Amit Sharma, Managing Director, Tata Consulting Engineers, and CGC member for Design, Engineering, Construction and R&D, SEPC. Mr. Karan Rathore, Vice Chairman, SEPC. It is my proud privilege to welcome you all on behalf of CIA on this Global Services Export Conclave on Design, Engineering, Construction, R&D and Environmental Services, Sustainable Energy, Transportation and Infrastructure, jointly organized by CEI and SEPC. My special welcome to the representatives of the various countries, multilateral funding agencies, who will be sharing the business opportunities in their respective areas. I also welcome the sponsors for helping us financially and providing support in organizing this event. We have a galaxy of the participants, speakers, moderators who are present in this very hall, who will be conducting various sessions. As you are aware, the conclave has been organized, spread over in 5 sessions apart from this inaugural session. Each session will cover a specific area. We will have moderators and the panelists, and followed by question and answer sessions. To join this morning, he has been taking keen interest in enhancing the export of these services, engineering services especially. As you are aware, the portion of engineering services
to this one-day conclave on Global Services Export Conclave on Engineering and Environmental Services, Sustainable Energy, Transportation and Infrastructure for Indian companies and Indian subsidiaries of foreign companies across the engineering, construction and environment services sectors. I would like to now request Mr. R.S. Sharma on the stage, please.
It is my proud privilege to welcome Shri Piyush Goyal Ji, Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution and Textiles. He has been taking keen interest in the export of services and has been concerned about very low contribution by engineering services. Busy schedule to grace this occasion and also to give your views as how to promote the export of engineering services. So we organized a similar conclave last year in in this month only and in this venue. We discussed various issues. The key takeaways I'll just list out from that conclave only. Sir, when we started this our ambitious program for NHDP development, that was Golden Quadrilateral in 1998, we were not having enough concerns to take up the DPR preparations, also for the supervision. So we had put the conditions in the RFP in such a way that we can have the concerns who had experience abroad, elsewhere, not available in India, and the provisions are made so that the joint ventures could be formed, and Indian firms who are in joint venture can eventually get the benefit of the experience.
And other technical services has had a CAGR of 14% over the last 5 years. If you split these services, of the $322 billion services recorded last year, ITES has about 60%, and of that ITES engineering is 3%. Then you have construction services, which is about 4 billion. Under the business services, there are 3 areas: R&D services, engineering services, and other technical, scientific, and space services. In total, FY23 was at $31 billion. With this CAGR of 14%, very important thing, the year-on-year perspective, construction grew last year at 45% and engineering grew at about 38%. The R&D services are poised for major growth along with the scientific and space in coming years, especially with India proving its worth at a global level. So the opportunities in this sector primarily are in the construction services, in engineering and design, which includes product engineering, plant engineering, and project engineering, and of course R&D services. The key focus area that the various constituent members have focused on are as follows: plant and infrastructure construction, a large opportunities in the energy transition space with revival of nuclear, the hydrogen economy and ammonia, solar and wind, transportation with metros being made at global benchmarks in India, airports, ports, and high-speed rail. The world looks at opportunities that India can tap into. Green consulting and projects, both in the green steel, green chemicals, green cement. The construction industrialization, which is on precast, prefab, modular construction techniques for rapid modeling of construction and civil infrastructure, space, and of course the pharmaceutical R&D space as well. From this 31 billion, we are at about 10% of the 322 billion services sector. And if at 2030, the Honorable Minister's vision of 1 trillion service sector revenue, we have to look at maintaining that 10%, which means $100 billion by 2030 with a CAGR of 18% to be in this sector. And out of 250 billion is less than single digit numbers in industrial and process, construction, R&D. So I think there's a huge market for the growth. We all have to look at this sector in terms of skills, qualification, and capabilities. The projects that we execute in India give us the right to work on similar projects outside India. We need trained professionals. We work on pre-qualification criteria with most challenging projects that are executed in the country. We need to look at global setups and focus on quality and safety of global benchmark. The opportunities have to be addressed separately from an international perspective, where the government is helping us with the FTAs, the loan agreements, offset clauses, which are giving trained manpower and PQs, the domestic formulation of engineers bill, PQs, and a cluster approach of consortiums when we go out, and of course policy refinements. In the last conclave we got the good news of no L1 QCBS selection that the government adopted, and it's a great step forward to look at quality rather than cost only. The FIDIC contract framework is part of most of the domestic large projects, which gives us a professionalism to execute projects outside India. And finally, digital thrust and 3D engineering has come of age with Indian engineers and construction professionals working. We have to reshape and rethink our perspective from cost arbitrage incentives to more co-creation and co-innovation, from detail engineering to field, process and IP creation, patents, from just discipline engineering to an integrated design, from become a cost arbitrage outsourcing player to actually an owner of build, own, operate, transfer, design, build, and instead of subcontracting, actually leading projects with Indian consulting, contracting, R&D firms coming together and winning large bids outside India. In the last conclave, certain points were discussed. The nation of Indian companies, a closer approach with ministry and ambassadors and consulates outside. Of course, there are still challenges on taxation, withholding tax, transfer pricing. Those are also being looked with various discussions. Our industry mindset shift has to be on large deals, on digital, on our capability development, and from a government support, both in terms of a PLI-based scheme for services like for is something that the industry has been asking, finance, visa, chartered engineer status. So these are some of the things that I believe we will discuss in this conclave. These are output of last year of discussions. And with that, I'll just summarize and say, I think that there is huge market, and I think with iconic projects being done in India, there is something that we can take our domestic experience on exports and achieve the 100 billion 2030 vision to be 10% of $1 trillion services export.
Thank you very much, madam. Mr. R.S. Sharma, President of CEG, Mr. Karan Rathod, Vice Chairman SEPC, Mr. Amit Sharma, Mr. Abhay Sinha, the Director General of SEPC, all the very distinguished participants of this Services Export Conclave, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I'd like to join my compliments, my best wishes along with the rest of the colleagues on Engineers Day today. I'm sure such occasions help inspire us towards much bigger achievements, much greater heights, and also give us a wake-up call. And in some sense, I think a celebration like this conference today truly reflects why and how we can best leverage the fact that we have a day dedicated and celebrated as Engineers Day. I think there's no better way than this to celebrate the day when we reflect on our achievements and also look at the future and see how we can grow multifold, how we can make a difference to the lives of the people of India and to the nation as such. In fact, on a lighter note, I come from a family of engineers. I'm the only odd man in the entire family, including the brother-in-laws, who has not done engineering. And to set the record right, after my schooling, I did go into science stream, did attend, if anybody here knows Mumbai, did attend Agarwal classes to prepare for the then entrance exam in the 80s, rather 79 to be more precise. I was admitted at Jai Hind College in Churchgate, so 7 to 10 in the morning I used to be at Dadar at Agarwal classes, rushed to take a train, which gave me good experience and helped me run my job as railway minister, and reach in time for a 10:30 lecture in Jai Hind. Of course, God, I shouldn't be saying this on the Engineers Day and at this function, but maybe my calling in life was different. And 1st of January, there was a mishap. And yeah, after that, January 1980, we decided that I should pursue my own calling in life. You know how it happens, you get a certain set of marks, and then at that time, with these marks, you can't go into commerce or arts. You'd be looked down upon. So you go into science. But fortunately for me, I was able to pursue my calling in life. But why I'm sharing this with you is because now the national education policy, the new policy articulated in 2020, gives that opportunity to everybody to change midstream also. So if I had, for example, at that point of time joined commerce, but after a year or two I felt that no, I should get into the science stream or become an engineer. Now the doors are open to and much more flexible to have lateral change. I remember when in January we decided I go into commerce, as a family we decided, उन दिनों में थोड़ा बहुत प्रभाव family का भी रहता था. But I was struggling to get admission into commerce. They said you wait for 6 months and next year come back for 11th standard in commerce. And I couldn't afford to lose a year. So that was the kind of policies that this country was constrained in, which we are trying to liberate now. And on a similar note, I think as engineers, I would urge all of you to reflect and see how we can now go the next step and see whether everybody needs to be an engineer or everybody needs to have general skills only. Look at the German model, where they make specialists in a particular area and they certify them after very, very extensive training. And I believe that that certificate from a German company, that a person is, let's say, maybe an electrician or a welder, is worth its weight in gold. And I think the time has come for all our engineering leaders to also decide whether we need to have 2 or 3 levels of engineers and have the generalist on the one hand, have the specialist on the other hand, and have the absolute trained and skilled manpower to support and supplement the engineer's work. I think when we have that complete ecosystem in place, then a lot of the things that I saw in your presentation will become easier and easier to counter, easier to in a way convert to an advantage for us, and then maybe meet our $100 billion target on engineering services, design, construction, R&D by 2030, rather than only being worried about the qualification criteria. In fact, I would urge SEPC and the engineers, what was that called? My father used to be very active in that. Let IEI and all come out with a study of all the international practices, which are the countries where in government ordering they have restrictive practices which do not give Indian engineering firms and talent an opportunity to bid or to participate, and then Government of India can take reciprocal action, and that's the best way to get things sorted out. So I would urge you to do that study, guide us which are the countries, and if the private sector in certain countries also is having unfair practices like this, please keep us informed. We can flag it off through our mission to the government there. We can talk to industry associations in those countries, and should it be necessary, then we'll have to see whether the private sector from those countries need to have a similar open run in India if they don't give our talent an equal opportunity in that country. And I think this is the new India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This is reflected in what happened and what we all saw and experienced at the G20. This India stands on its own capabilities. This India stands on its own ability and goes with a new confidence when it engages with the rest of the world. We are no more a country that will accept a one-way street. And all our FTA negotiations are reflective of that. We work very, very deeply in consultation with all stakeholders to get the best deal for our people, our businesses, our MSMEs, our professionals for the services side. When we discuss with other countries, and see how it can be most equitable, balanced and fair, which should be a win-win for both countries, unlike some of the FTAs which many of the business persons have criticized in the past, where the stakeholder consultation was inadequate, and end of the day we find that we are not able to leverage the FTA as much as the other countries are able to do. So I think it's like the Honorable Prime Minister said, and I quote, there comes a time in the development journey of every country when the country redefines itself afresh. When the country redefines itself afresh and pushes forward with new resolutions. Today, that time has come. In our development journey of India, yahi samay hai, sahi samay hai. And if we miss the bus, ladies and gentlemen, we'll only have ourselves to blame. And the children, the next generation will never forgive us. It's incumbent on all of us. I'm seeing all of us of the older age and the generation that's leaving behind the foundation on which our next generations are going to build the new India, build a developed India. This Amrit Kal of 25 years and the first year has gone well. Growth is on track. India's voice is becoming the voice of the world, is becoming the voice of the global south. India has demonstrated its capabilities in every sense, be it the successful G20 summit, be it the outstanding leaders declaration with over 112 outcomes, the highest ever in 15 years and 18 G20 summits that we've seen so far. We've come up with very significant and bold decisions taken during this G20, and we are working on an action agenda to actually implement all that has been discussed. Be it the Jaipur call for action so that our MSME sector gets more information and is empowered to do better, be it our effort to focus on multilateral development banks reform so that more funding is available for India, be it our effort to look at world regulation or joint regulation of the cryptocurrency age. There's some very, very, very significant decisions and outcomes which possibly only Prime Minister Modi's leadership could have helped us steer and get everybody's collective acceptance. And it's a big thing that world leaders across all sides of the divide are hailing India and the success of the India's G20 presidency. It's not as if the one is unhappy and the other is happy. And that is what true consensus and the hallmark of true leadership is. But as Prime Minister Modi often says, he reflects 140 crore Indians' vision, aspiration, desires, capabilities. So it's all of us who have to celebrate our success. It's our success. It's the collective success of 140 crore Indians. And now it's incumbent on us to see how we convert that success to the next level into action and find intelligent and far smarter ways. I'll take a leaf out of the Tata playbook, since you come from Tatas. I was in New York attending, I went to visit an innovation center that Tata's has developed at Cornell University, probably Long Island or the South Side here. My first reaction, and I'm being candid in this audience, it shows the evolution and why Prime Minister said the time has changed and India has arrived. My first reaction was, why did you spend so much money here? You should have spent it in some institute in India. Then when they were making the presentation, they showed us that they are the prime sponsor, TCS is the prime sponsor of New York Marathon. I said, अरे आप इतना पैसा यहाँ खर्च लो, आपने इंडिया के मैराथन्स को सपोर्ट करना चाहिए, यहाँ क्यों कर रहे? I'm just showing you how my own thinking evolved in the course of a 1 hour visit. This is where my thinking started from. And as I heard about more and more of the story unfurling, how TCS has been able to establish itself as the most important stakeholder with almost every Fortune 500 company in the US, how it has become an integral part of the entire services ecosystem in the United States, Europe, and other parts of the world, I realized that this is the smart way to go. The fact that you're partnering with international universities, the fact that you're even now being seen on New York Marathon, is building the acceptability of India, is building the acceptability of an Indian company in the American ecosystem. And ultimately, look at all the foreign companies who have come to India. How have they successfully steered, navigated and got so much business in India? Many of you here may be working for one or the other MNC also. It's time now we became MNCs across the world. Exactly that. I remember as a chartered accountant, that was a 16, Prime Minister Narendra Modi came on Chartered Accountants Day, 1st of July, and addressed a huge, probably the largest gathering we've seen of chartered accountants in this country. So much so, it was in one of the large stadiums. The stadium got full, all the seats in the stadium got full, and we had to, there were two other, there was a wrestling arena which got full, and we had to lock the gates. और बाद में मुझे मेरे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट फ्रेंड्स ने इतना क्रिटिसाइज किया कि हम तो बाहर ही रह गए थे, हम पहुंचे नहीं. ऐसे तुम टाइम पे नहीं आए, तुम अंदर नहीं घुस पाए, उसमें मेरी क्या गलती है? But imagine, that was the enthusiasm. And in that Prime Minister gave a clarion call that we should all now aim to become international firms. Chartered accountants, why are there this big four? Why is Indian company not in that big four? Why are we not making 8 large chartered accountancy firms who can counter the big four? And what did the big four do? They were smart. They came to India. They partnered with Indian firms, collaborated. They engaged our Indian chartered accountants. Each one of them possibly has 100,000 chartered accountants today. Apart from all the other, and they would probably have half as many engineers also in their consulting division. So they came and integrated into the Indian system, cashed in on the huge opportunity. Why can't we do the same? Why can't our engineers think of collaborating, think of the larger firms could even think of buying off international companies? And knowing the situation today and the lack of talent, the non-availability of enough skilled and trained engineers or manpower in most parts of the world, India produces the highest number of STEM graduates. We should be now aiming to be international, while certainly government will look at what we can do to get more reciprocity. But all these FTAs are opening up the doors for us to go and engage in the rest of the world. Is opening the doors to the service sector. That's one of the primary focuses. Given the changing nature of business with 50% plus of our own economy coming out of services, the fact that now today $326 billion came out of services exports, which is 55% growth in just 2 years. Have you ever heard that? 55% growth in services exports from 194 to 326 billion in only 2 years. That is your capability, that is your strength. We need to recognize our own capability today. We need to have a wake-up call for all of us. And no better day than Engineers Day, reflecting the fact that a lot of the services ecosystem, you also said, the IT exports also has a large component of service, of engineering talent. In fact, I would think that 100% of it is engineering talent. I think all these IT professionals are largely coming out of the engineering space, largely. So I suspect you are sitting on a gold mine. But you have not realized, because on top of the gold mine there's always sand and shrubbery and all of that. And you've not realized कि आपके नीचे सोने की खदान पड़ी है. You just need to dig a little deeper, need to be more exploratory, need to go out into the world, need to explore new markets, be more ambitious. And while of course we must continue to focus and grow on Africa and all the other countries where there's a lot of opportunities, we should go head on into the Middle East, into America, into Europe, into Japan, into Korea. Find out what's holding our people back. And you'll find there will be elementary things. First of all, we don't learn the local language. Sadly for us, we just don't recognize that if you want to do business in France, the starting point is get a few people to learn the French language. If you want to do it in Japan, in Korea, in Taiwan, you have to learn the local language. We have English in India, so they are all very comfortable. They are all able to come and work in India. They are all able to take up the opportunities that you could have otherwise got. You'll have to now think smarter. Go out there into the world. It's only in India that हम भारत बोलते हैं तो उसका criticism होता है. अपनी language की बात करें और उसका criticism होता है. और फ्रांस में जाओ तो फ्रेंच है. तुम मिडिल ईस्ट में जाओ तो अपनी लोकल भाषा में बात करते हैं. तुम जापान जाओ, ताइवान, कोरिया, इंडोनेशिया, एनी कंट्री, वो इंग्लिश आती भी है तो वो अपनी लोकल भाषा में बात करते हैं और ट्रांसलेटर के थ्रू आपको सुनाते हैं. Even after knowing the language. Prime Minister Modi understands, knows English very well, but he prefers to talk in Hindi. Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji started in the United Nations. The first time an Indian leader did not talk in English. Not that Atal ji didn't know English. But ये national pride होता है. वो अपना maintain कर रहे हैं pride. हम embarrass हो रहे हैं. और उसको राजनीतिक विषय बना के बैठे कि प्रधानमंत्री ने भारत क्यों लिखा था. ये माइंडसेट की प्रॉब्लम है और ये माइंडसेट हम सबको भी सुधारने की आवश्यकता है. We all have to, as a nation, recognize that we have to be proud of our country and we have to be more ambitious in the rest of the world. And in that ambition, we'll have to think smart, we'll have to go global. We'll have to understand local laws, understand local regulation, seamlessly merge into those systems rather than trying to fight those systems. That's the smarter way to do business. Friends, India is rising. India is today respected worldwide. The India of today is recognized by every person in the world. There are 8 billion people in the world today who are looking up to India to provide global leadership. And that leadership, while Prime Minister Modi will lead from the front, will come from the strength of 140 crore Indians. And our engineers, our aspirational engineers, our supercharged professionals, young boys, girls, is talent extraordinary. They're valued so highly all over the world. We just need to go out there. We just need to go with the confidence that we can do it. The more we are able to have collaborations, you'll find that the business could be captured in the foreign country. The back office could be supported from India, which will make us more viable, also more competitive, help us capture bigger markets. And if you ask me, sky is the limit, or as the country is going, I think even the moon is not the limit for us anymore. Thank you. Give me a lot of notes. I could have talked about focus on sustainable solutions, green hydrogen, EV, waste to energy, education 4.0, industry 4.0. मैं भी पढ़ रहा था कि क्या क्या लिखा है. मैंने थोड़ा उसके लिए मैं नहीं आया. वो आप लोग टेक्निकल सेशंस में कर लेना. Thank you.
I now request Dr. Abhisana to present a token of love.
Thank you for your service and thank all the engineers. Thank you so much.